Oh, so we got the recording in progress announcement. So how's everybody doing? I hope well. Uh, this is going to be our last audio and video for the quarter. So the week after we'll get the final exam. So hopefully you enjoy this. Maybe I've done it a little bit shorter for you. Maybe one less question or two. We'll see. I'll try to take it easy on you. I think it's going to go quickly. It's just some quick, easy to understand concepts, okay, with religion and culture. So this one is scheduled for us. I look my trusty calendar, March the 7th, okay? Go to the material. Let me minimize myself. See you later. Let me go from the beginning. Introduction to International Relations. Again, for those who have forgotten the name of the class. Hopefully you have not forgotten the name of the school. And here we started with religion and culture, the mix, or do they mix or do they not mix? Or, should we keep them separate? So hopefully we're going to find out those points. All right. Religion and culture seem like complex ideas to study from the perspective of international relations. So again, in a question, if I put IR, don't forget, because that's what I've been doing for many weeks now. Instead of writing international relations all the time, I put IR, okay? After all, scholars and philosophers have long debated the meaning of these terms and the impact that they have had on our comprehension of the social world around us. So is it an impossibly complicated task to study religion and culture at the global level? Is it? It's a big question. Fortunately, the answer is no. Okay, good. For we can recognize and respect complexity without being confused about what we mean by each term. In this chapter, which completes the first section of the book, we will explore why thinking about religious and cultural factors in global affairs is as integral or important as the other issues we have covered this far. Okay, so as we continue, we're getting into gods and the forces in the public square. The first element of religion is the belief that divine beings, divine means, gods, and or forces of nature, hold relevance or importance to the meaning and practice of politics today and throughout history. These beings are sometimes understood as knowable God, like we have on our money here in the United States, in God we trust, or gods. If you lived in a Hindu area of India, they believe in a number of gods there, Ganesh being one of them. Sometimes as mythical and symbolic figures from our ancient past, and sometimes as impersonal forces beyond the physical realm. So again, it's hard to understand these things because they are not physical. They're a personal force. Different religious traditions, make sure you pay attention to that, traditions, understand the influence of religion upon politics in different ways. Traditions that we might call fundamental propose that politics is a matter of organizing society according to divine commands, not man-made laws, okay? The demands that come from Quran, a Bible, or the Jewish Torah, or even Buddhism. In Iran, for example, the highest court in the land is a religious one. People always talk about here in the United States, the highest court is the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court has nothing to do with religion, it has to do with man-made laws. But in Iran, the religious court is the highest. Drawing its principles from the Shia branch of Islam, the second largest Islamic tradition worldwide after the majority Sunni tradition. This court has the power to veto laws of parliament. So look at that. It'd be like saying, because again, people talk about, I'm going to take my case to the Supreme Court, and that's the highest law in the land. So let's say you win in the Supreme Court your case, and then, here comes the, I just, I'll just throw it out there. Here comes the Catholic, let's say if Catholic was the higher court, and says, no, we're throwing out the legal precedent because according to the Catholic, according to the Pope, that's not good, right? Can you imagine that? It'd be pretty wild. But it happens in Iran, right? So again, it has the power to veto or cancel laws of parliament and decide who can hold power. Likewise, in Myanmar, used to be called Burma, an influential group of religious monks has started a movement intent with a desire on imposing Buddhist principles on the whole country, including non-Buddhist minorities. Thus, some religious politics is based on fundamentals that, in the view of adherents or believers or followers, cannot be changed without the standards of society also being compromised. Okay. And I have a question in there, first one of the day. Let's get that pencil. Question one. Okay, let me make this a one. Okay, what is the first element of religion? Please let me know what that is. Okay, it's pretty straightforward and simple. Take your time. Okay, think you got that? All right, go for that eraser. Again, repeating, what is the first element of religion? You don't have to, it's not a long answer, just give me the exact meaning, that's all. Okay. Okay, so we finished down here. It says being compromised. All right, I'm gonna check my paperwork and write down that I asked you question 1. I want to ask you questions twice when I get you out of here early last week before the final. Okay, by contrast, traditions that adopt a contextual approach, contextual approach, like I mentioned earlier, hold that politics is a matter of influencing society according to divine principles from the heavens, from God or gods, but as a part of a wider tapestry of influences. Okay, so they're saying, don't be stuck on that religious deal. There's other ways of looking at things, maybe culturally, who knows? For example, religious development organizations such as the Aga Khan Development Network, also from the Shia branch of Islam, work in areas of healthcare and education in countries of Africa and Asia without seeking to control entire political systems. Likewise, in Myanmar, the so-called Saffron Revolution of 2007 saw Buddhist monks stand with the poor against the ruling military dictatorship and support the beginnings of multi-party democracy. In these examples, religious politics is adapted to changing circumstances and takes into account diverse or widespread interests and beliefs across society. What is common to both fundamental and contextual religious traditions is an understanding that politics is in some sort of interactive relationship with the intentions or desires of traditions shaped by gods or God and spiritual forces. This contrasts strongly with secular or non-religious approaches that demote or put down and sometimes deny altogether a role of religion in political affairs. Okay, so I have question 2 in there, embedded in there somewhere. Okay, oops. So make this a 2. And it looks good. Name the 2 different religious traditions. Remember I mentioned traditions earlier? Not 2 different religions. Right? Don't give me Islam and Christianity. Traditions discussed here, and I've already told you there's only 2. Okay, so give it a go. Okay, there's only two. Just give me enough information to cover each one. You don't have to go into big in depth. Okay, just the two basically. So don't say, well, it's one is the McDonald's tradition and the other one is the Five Guys, you know, with an honorable mention of In and Out. It's not what I'm looking for. Okay, I think that's enough time on that. Repeating, name the two different religious traditions discussed here. All right. So we ended off here at the bottom, religion and political affairs. The marked on that I asked you question 2. Okay, now we're going to move on to elements of culture. We just had some elements of religion. Now we have to get the same for culture. We can approach the term culture in the same way we have considered religion. There are many proposed meanings of culture, and these vary from the simple to the complex. While each approach has value for understanding the social world around us, we will opt or choose for a simple version that still gives us plenty to work with. Again, that'll be easier for you to understand too and remember for your file. Because remember, I want everyone to do well. As such, we begin with an understanding of culture as the combined effect of humanly constructed social elements that help people live together. We will explore 4 elements of culture, illustrating each element through individual, international, political experience. I hope this makes you happy, but I'm not going to explore 4. Some of them go off into some kind of, information that is not necessary for you to understand the combination of religion and culture. They just go off into different kind of stories and examples, which I don't want you to get confused about and think, I have to remember this for the test. So I have taken upon myself to make it shorter and not cover all the 4 elements. Okay, so that should make you happy. But I have another question. Hello. I know that doesn't make you happy, but what can we do? Question 3. Oops, I need to have a space between my words. Okay, let me see what I can do with this alignment. That looks okay. Okay, the first element of culture has to do with what? Again, as I throw hints in there, look for do, you can find the answer, okay? All right, good luck. Okay, you think you're doing okay there? All right. Eraser. Okay, the first element of culture has to do with what? So we started with elements of culture. We ended down here with political experience. Now we're going to move into common life practice in society. First element of culture has to do with common or shared life. I think this is repeated here. So check your own answer in your mind. While media reporting seems to constantly prioritize, which means uh, they decide what they want to talk about most, which is stories of war, conflict, and controversy, it is equally the case that local, national, and international society requires a remarkable degree of cooperation. How do we live together? And bonds can sometimes be forged or built through family ties, as the saying goes. You can choose your friends, but you are stuck with your relatives. Economic interests, what matters most is the color of your money. That's very funny. Or security concerns. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yet there are other bonds that are forged at the social level as people of difference find ways to live together in the same space by, again, forging common beliefs, habits, and values. It is from this practice of common life that culture often emerges. Continuing, we'll move into symbols of group identity. The second element of culture are symbols of identity. Constructing and interpreting signs is a basic activity in any society. The kinds of sign I am referring to are tangible. Tangible means you can touch them, feel them. Reminders in modern societies of who we are as a people. They include styles of architecture, such as bridges or religious buildings, land or waterscapes that influence the activity of life, such as in harbor cities, monuments, flags, and other identity banners, styles of clothing, and habits of dress. Distinctive food, right? So if I said kimchi, people know that's Korea, right? And drink, if I said vodka, that's from Russia, and so on. So even those smaller things can identify and be signs of group identity. These signs are more than a tourist attraction. They are symbols that inform members about who they are as a group and that help the group live together cohesively or together. It's like saying together, or bonded together, tied together. Okay, I have a question in there. It's going to be question 4. Let's see if I can make this a onesie. A little bit more. Okay, good deal. Oh, these, I have to space this. And then, of course, what happened? There we go. List some culture symbols of group identity. You don't have to list all of them. It's a nice number. So, give me about half of them, okay? Not just 1 or 2. Thank you. I'm going to give you a little time to make that list. Maybe 3 or 4 would be adequate. Might be a question on the final. Who knows? Crisp and easy. Okay, think you got that list beaten down? So, okay. Erase your time. Repeating lists some cultural symbols of group identity. Hint, McDonald's and Burger King. Right. Moving on. We edit cohesively. Now we're going to get into religion and culture, difference and similarity. And let me mark down, I asked you question 4. Matching my documents to the computer. Okay. We have explored elements of religion and culture and offered various brief, yes, brief, examples from an individual, national, and international perspective. While it has been important to consider each concept separately, highlighting the particular ways that religion and culture influence international relations, there are clear interlinkages, linkages between themselves, between them. Theorists have long drawn or made such links, and these are useful for our consideration here. For example, the anthropologist Clifford Geertz famously described religion as a cultural system composed or made up of myths, rituals, symbols, and beliefs created by humans as a way of giving our individual and collective lives a sense of meaning. Consider the similarities between the elements of religion and culture described in this chapter, such as the role of symbols and stories in both accounts, and the pursuit of life according to what either faith or culture determined to be the higher standards of living. Okay. An important question to ask is whether culture should be necessarily understood as the larger, more significant category in international relations, always casting or making religion as a subset or smaller set within it. Such a view makes sense because no one religion encompasses or completely covers an entire society in the world today. And no society lives entirely according to one set of sacred rules and practices. On the other hand, in some contexts, religious authority and identity can be more significant than any other cultural element. So I've gone into the other side. Listen to that. Don't be confused or fall asleep. On the other hand, in some contexts, religious authority and identity can be more significant than any other cultural element. So the first part of this says culture should, be the strong view, and then down here it says religion can be the strong view. Okay. For example, when American soldiers moved into the Iraqi city of Najaf in 2003 to negotiate security arrangements, it was not the town mayor or the police that had the most influence. Rather, it was the reclusive religious leader, Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani, whose authority influenced not only the city, okay, but much of the fracturing nation itself. It was falling apart. Taking another example, when communist authorities confronting striking dock workers in Poland in the 1980s, it was not only unions that opposed them, but also the Catholic Church, whose priests performed sacred rituals and stood in solidarity or togetherness with strikers in open defiance of the government. In both examples, one for the religious side and one for the cultural side, the elements of religion are equally, if not more prominent than the elements of culture. So there you go. Religion can be the topper. Perhaps the most useful approach, therefore, is to see the elements of religion and the elements of culture in constant interaction with each other. So from that little bit longer reading, I have two questions. And don't worry, the questions are going to be longer than the answers. The hard part is for me. Okay. This is question 5. Better get my fingers ready. Okay. That was pretty good as it is. I'm not going to touch it. So, why does it make sense that religion should be a subset? Remember, I said a smaller, less important set of culture. And then there's what I told you earlier, IR, international relations, in case you forgot. Okay. And again, use makes sense as a clue to find the answer. Okay. So go ahead. Okay, so these questions will be, a couple of sentences, so I have to give you a little time. Are you guys doing okay on that? Halfway through here. All right. Okay, why does it make sense that religion should be a subset of culture and IR? Oops, I don't need the eraser, I need the pencil because I said I had two questions. Oh, am I slipping here? Okay, here's question 6. Again, a long question, not a long answer. Oh, I get my punctuation correct here. I missed a word here. Crucial to make this understandable. Okay, I'm going to try to stretch this one. I haven't stretched one in a bit. And they did a Tuesday. Unbelievable. Give an example where religious authority / identity is more prominent, or was a stronger case than culture. Okay. First one was a religious example. This is cultural one. And then this was a religious. Okay, so go ahead. Okay, again, just a couple of sentences will do it for that one. Hey, you doing okay there? All right, I'm going to go for the eraser. 5, repeating, why does it make sense that religion should be a subset of culture in IR, or international relations? 6, give an example where religious authority and identity is more prominent or stronger than culture. Okay, erasing. Get a new share. Back to the material. Okay. I've asked you questions 5 and 6. Let's move on. Okay, can we all live together? One of the most pressing or important questions related to our study is whether religious and cultural actors, remember, people that work in IR are considered or called actors, and agendas, their plans, have more of a positive or negative effect on global affairs. Which is it? As we have seen above, these elements relate to some of the deepest levels of human experience, both individually and internationally. Should policymakers try to release the powerful energy of religio/cultural identity for the sake of a better world, or should they try to keep a lid or keep it closed for fear of unleashing or letting go forces that might damage our capacity to get along with others? And I have snuck a question in there. Again, a long one for me and a short answer for you. Okay. But this will be question 7, so you know we're getting close to the end. You guys can start partying. Okay, let's see what I can do with this one. Possible to make it a Tuesday? Okay. Okay, question is, what is one of the most pressing questions in IR, international relations, about religious and cultural actors, the actors that represent each one individually? And look for pressing for your hint. Okay, go ahead. Hey, you think you're doing okay on that? All right. Go for the eraser. Repeating. What is one of the most pressing questions in IR about religious cultural actors? Right. Back to the material. We all finish down here with get along with others, working into the value of a both/and approach, the combination, fusion. The study of international relations shows that the answer to this may be to draw on both strategies or use both strategies, since religio-cultural identity inhabits or lives in a space somewhere between the problems of conflict and the possibilities of cooperation. This approach can be seen as an adaptation of Appleby's influential idea of the ambivalence of the sacred in 2000, in which the elements of religio-cultural politics we have explored above carry simultaneously, which means at the same time, the potential for both violence and peace. That's why they said conflict and cooperation earlier. The usefulness of this approach is that it helps us to break free from the restrictions of an either or, bad or good, logic about religion and culture. Instead, we can focus on a both and analysis, which allows individual and international examples of each, a both, conflict, and cooperation, to inform us about the politics of religion and culture at the global level. That's what IR is concerned about. The influential scholar Martin E. Marty in 2003 would add that such an approach helps us to deepen our understanding of world politics as it really is. I have a question in there. Oh, question 8, we're getting close. Oh dear. It's going to be a little long, so good for you, bad for me. Okay, let's see if I can make this a 1. We haven't had a 1 for a while. Okay. Okay, which space does religio-cultural identity inhabit? So go at it. Okay, it's a couple of sentences there, so give you some time. Okay, doing okay there? Just a little bit more time I'll give you. Okay. Eraser, where are you? Okay. Which space does religio-cultural identity inhabit? It's gone. Let's move on. And at the bottom here, world politics, as it really is. Now we're going to get to the importance of precise thinking. I just asked you question 8. Here we go. Which framework makes more sense to you? Does the rise of religion and culture in international affairs encourage clash, or which is also a word for fighting, or a dialogue, conversation? Does religious and cultural elements of politics enable or lead us to live together in cooperation, or do they disconnect us in ways that lead to conflict? Applying the logic that we introduced at the start of this section, one answer is that elements of religion and culture contribute to both clash and dialogue, to both conflict and cooperation. The benefit of this approach is twofold. First, it encourages us to look closely at specific elements of religion and culture, as we have done in this chapter, instead of forcing such complex phenomena into a singular assumption about conflict or cooperation. As Reza Aslan once commented, Islam is not a religion of peace, and it is not a religion of war. It is just a religion. This kind of ambivalent, which ambivalence means kind of you don't care about the outlooks, right? Allows us to consider how the precise elements of religion and culture are used in violent and peaceful ways. Okay. Second, applying a both and logic requires us to consider specific examples of international relations. As we have attempted throughout this chapter without stereotyping religious and cultural traditions, by pinning them to singular events or attaching them to singular events. When the shortcomings of religion were once brought to the attention of the Hindu mystic Ramakrishna, he remarked that religion is like a cow. It kicks, but it also gives milk. For every cultural symbol of hate, we see as many cultural symbols of healing and peace. For every religious movement of violence, we see as many religious movements for reconciliation or getting back together. This both and understanding of religion and culture has become influential among policymakers working with individuals, local communities, and national, regional, and international organizations, marking a significant shift in our understanding of world politics as a whole. I have a question. Question 9. That means we're almost finished. Okay. Make sure I'm asking this correctly. Again, a long one for me. look at this. Okay. Oops, right. Okay, let's see what I can do with this. Oh, is it too late? There we go. That looks good. All right, list who, okay, which groups, which different groups, in the both and understanding, which we just read about. I should put an of in here. Oopsie. Okay, I gotta move this. There we go. Okay. List two, again, the groups, different groups in the both and understanding of religion and culture has become influential. So make that list. Not too little, but not too many. Go ahead. Okay, that's a long list, so you should be able to give me a good amount without having to do all. Okay, you almost got that list done? Hope so. Okay, start wrapping up that list. Okay, I'm gonna go for the eraser. 9, list 2 in the both and understanding of religion and culture, which is the understanding we last read about, has become influential. So again, the list is a lot, but just give me half of it, okay? All right. Now, students are like, hey, didn't you start this video with you're gonna let us go early because it's the last week before the final and you might ask less questions because, and we've already had 9 questions. What's going on? What are you doing? Teacher's lying. Oh my gosh. Well, let's check something out here. Share. Material. Okay, let's continue reading here. Oh, what? Hey, no more material. And no more material means no more questions. So we finished the reading and we finished the questions. So I only gave you 9 instead of 10 at this time. Okay, yay, good for me. I was not lying. Okay, so we go, we're back here, and I shall see you guys next week. Good luck on the final. Okay, so until then, take care, get ready for spring. All right, bye-bye.